but the open road in front of me, my headlights only cutting through mist cast into sultry darkness. David sits alone in his beaten-up old car, holding the steering wheel with both hands. His face is haggard, and there's a haunted look about him. A little static crackles over the radio. David was driving along the road to nowhere, or that's how it felt. It was just supposed to be one more late-night road trip. Tonight, this road had other ideas. It would take him somewhere he never saw coming. David's car drives along the highway at low speed. He glances at his watch, 3 a.m. He sighs heavily. Then out of the corner of his eye, he glimpses something up ahead. Something on that side road. Covered partially in mist. A woman with her thumb out. The car slows, tires softly screeching as David pulls his foot off the gas. The radio crackles back again, more faintly, like the voices were whispering through ice. This was weird. A woman in this place at his night. But it was cold that night, and David had always been a good Samaritan. David pulls over. The woman advances, a ghostly figure, her white face so nearly indistinct, her face peeks through her long black wet hair is back. I am leaning there through the window. These words reached Erica through her ear. Can you give a ride? Woman, soft faraway voice. The woman enters the passenger side. David looks at her before she lies down. It seems that something is not right with this girl. She wears ancient, out-of-touch clothing and doesn't seem to own a single thing. David, where are you going? Woman, just down the road, not far. By the time she spoke again, her voice was quiet. It was almost like a whisper that got lost in translation and carried by the wind. David shivered but asked no more. He just started driving. The engine drones on loudly, pushing the mostly empty car further down that thriving highway. TH33 C4M3 Ray tracks up, focusing on the rearview mirror. Dab looks back and forth. Fraction fifth, it appears as if the women is not represented in Hemirer. He blinks and she's back. There was an itch somewhere though for her. Inside the vehicle, the air was thick, colder. The road stretches on. David tries to break the ice, but she doesn't reply. She only stares at her hands, fists pressed in her lap. Despite losing focus on her face each time he tries to meet it head on, as if she is not fully crystal clear. The radio crackles and then more voices, but they sound like whispers of his name. He now felt the further he drove. For miles he had seen no other car, no streetlights, no signs. Only the road that goes on, and the woman who said nothing since she got in. His grip on the wheel tightens. David is at 9 and Tavish removed himself from redemption. He looks at the woman again. Now they are watching him again with big open eyes. David, where did you say you were going again? Home. And the car drives into more fog. The road is unchanging. David will roll forward, roll in reality. No matter how far he drives, the same expanse of asphalt and distant trees awaits. He feels like he is spinning his wheels. This doesn't feel right. Then under the car, there was a sudden loud thud. His foot slams down on the brake just in time for me to lurch forward. Something was wrong. The road seemed unending, a highway devouring them completely, and then the sound, as if they had struck something, but the road had been empty. David, who do you think I am? David steps out the blocking car and looks at his tires. There is nothing there as he walks around. There was nothing around them that they could have hit, just silence. There is only a soft howl of wind and the slight whisper David hears behind him. Woman, speaking quietly from the inside of the car. You can't just leave. David returns to looking at the car. The woman looks back at him in the windshield, her face becoming unnaturally gaunt and empty. Her eyes are black voids. The mouth opens too wide and the smile itself is a cruel one. Suddenly he knew. This was more than a hitchhiker. This wasn't just a ride. David had found something infinitely more terrible than some lonely wayfarer. As the mist begins to spin denser and thicker like a sheet, there is now an echoing, high-pitched sound in the air. The murmurs increase. Voices begin to overlap, all saying his name. David recoils in horror. David quickly makes his way to the passenger side and attempts to re-enter the car. The woman is gone from the passenger seat. A dark silhouette barely visible in the fog, standing directly on the my half of this street. Woman David, you have one last lap to go. David hits the gas, panicked. He drives, speeds down the road, and still she manages to get in front of him as if he never went too fast. Her shape changes, she becomes bigger, her extremities warp into a horrifying caricature of the human form. No matter where he went, no matter how fast we drove, she was watching. The road would trap him. Seconds later, the woman's voice screeches through car, media processor, file type. Could image you. Null woman, you should have never stopped. David jerks the car momentarily, and there is only a white tinfoil screen as he starts sliding off the road. As the vehicle speeds off and glides into a high-speed skid toward its final crash location in shallow ditch, the camera whirls along with its downward trajectory, ready to capture disaster at an advanced frame rate. Silence. Car flipped, crashed in a ditch. The camera slowly traverses the ruins. We then see the lifeless arm of David hanging out an open window. The fog is still here, and it had become dense. Footsteps within the mist. The final shot is the woman standing on their own, by the remnants of destruction, flashing that grin right back at us. She inches her head to the body of David. Certain rides are for one-way tickets only.